It was a tremendous amount.
Yeah. Well, and it's appreciated at the same time.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
If I may,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have recorded the adoption of the agenda.
Oh, did I miss that?
I believe we missed that. Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, I missed that in the beginning of the meeting. Shoot. Okay. So before we move on to board comments, we're going to back up a little bit and we're going to adopt the agenda. Dr. Porras, there's no changes to the agenda, correct?
No, nothing other than, no, there's not.
That's published, the revised published. Okay. And do I have a motion board to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda for this evening.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Approved by Christy Dawson, second by John Paff. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Sorry about that. Okay, back to board member comments. I'm going to defer to the agenda, and I'm going to go a little bit of different order. John Walton, any comments?
I just want to echo what everybody already said. I received, I think I counted, at least in my inbox, about 43 letters. It was great to get all the input from the parents and the teachers and the students and the community about the things that are on the agenda this evening. I also want to thank Principal Lito for leading several public forums where people could continue to have input into that. I think it's always good to create those opportunities for people to have their voice heard, and appreciate the principals continuing to survey and the parents about their feelings, and also CSEA and CTA for surveying their members, so we have their input and thoughts as well as we go into the meeting tonight.
Thank you, John. John Paff?
I have no comments right now. Thank you.
Oh, actually it was Brian, right? Brian?
What John Paff said. I've got nothing.
Okay. Christy, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Trustee Walton said and add that to come into a new district during time of COVID and run town hall meetings, just huge congratulations to Principal Garcia for his efforts on behalf of the staff. Talk about jumping into the fire.
Well, I'll add Shane Steinbeck to that as well. Okay, Superintendent Report. Dr. Porras, anything to report?
No, I only have one thing, and I'll defer for the report later on the agenda. I just want to make a comment. We have received some communications, and I should have mentioned it earlier, from some folks that are noting various groups, organized sports groups that are beginning to use our fields without any permission, and certainly violating the county ordinances in regards to social distancing and the like. We are aware of those. We're working with the police department to the extent that we can to get their help. Director Kelly has been doing a great job of trying to reach out to those people via email or phone to let them know that that's not permissible. I think like the groups of 12 are, but they still have to do social distancing. So I just want to make the community aware that we do know it's happening, and we're working to help stop that action. The last thing we want to do is to have to close our fields because there are a number of folks that are not willing to follow the county health ordinance, or if we get shut down by the county. So I just wanted to note that we are working with that and trying to fix that problem as best as we can.
Can I ask a question relating to that too, Dr. Porras?
Sure.
That would apply to any of our fields, right? Be it at the high school or the middle school across the street from my house, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Porras. Okay, we have PGUSD staff comments. I'm going to open that up, so if any staff have any comments they'd like to say, please use the raise your hand feature. Again, how you do that is you click the participants at the bottom lower middle of your screen, and you should be able to raise your hand. While we wait for that for a few minutes, I'm going to just note that During our discussion regarding the reopening action item D, we will have 2 short presentations from the Teachers Association and the Classified CSEA Association as well. So know that that's coming. Barbara, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Barbara Martinez, Principal of Pacific Grove Adult Education. I just wanted to give a couple shout outs. I'd like to give a shout out to the high school robotics team for really coming forward and serving our community in so many capacities, especially during the shelter in place. I don't know if you can see these, but these are the protectors that really kind of protect the ear, and you can connect your mask to these, delivered free to any staff member at the adult school or within any one of our schools. And the other, they're creating these. So if your site or you need one of these, you can contact our robotics team and they will provide you with one. So I just wanted to really say thank you for safety reasons, but thank you to them for their dedication and their service to our community. Secondly, we had 18 graduates from the adult diploma program, and although we didn't have a formal graduation ceremony because of our school shutting down, we have had students complete the program and come in and get their diploma. Tonight we had about 10 just drive through the parking lot and we celebrated them. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Sarah Weber and her program.
Yay, fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Okay, Corinne Gordon.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm a English teacher at the high school, and I wanted to reiterate our appreciation for the job that Lito Garcia is doing, just jumping into the deep end of the pool to handle all of the meetings that we've had to discuss the potential schedules and all the hard work that the union reps have been doing. All of the teachers have been attending these meetings, and I just know that it is a real team effort to try to figure out how we're going to start school this in August, in a few short weeks. I do have some concerns, but I'm guessing that the best time to share those would be after the presentation. So that was a question that I have.
Yes, if we could hold off on that until that agenda item. We have a few things to get through just before that, and then, yeah.
But I really did, again, want to reiterate, I think a lot of us at the high school, a lot of the teachers really appreciate everything that Lito has been doing and the support from the district. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to have him. Okay, I see no other staff comments. We'll move on to individuals desiring to address the board. And this is, let me get my little spiel here. Any item of the interest to the public will be heard. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes with total time of 20 minutes. Public comment will also be allowed for each agenda item on tonight's meeting. This meeting is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. And please note the Brown Act limits the board's ability to respond to public comment. And the board may choose to direct items to administration for a future agenda. And this is, again, for non-agenda items. So if anybody would like to address the board, you can go ahead and raise your hand. We'll wait for a few minutes here, a few seconds. Okay, I'm seeing no hand right away, so we'll keep moving. We're going to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is items considered to be routine and may have been discussed at a previous board meeting. There are no discussions on these items unless a member of the board has specific questions and a request to be removed. Approved items are considered full and adopted as recommended. Board, is there any questions about the consent agenda? John Walton?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Well, if there's, let's see, Brian,
Nothing from me, thanks.
John Peth,
Nope, thanks.
and Christy.
Same as the above. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda
Second.
as presented. Okay. Thank you. We have a motion by David Crandall, second by John Peth. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Action discussion. We have approval of Pacific Grove Unified School District Adult Education Teachers Agreement. Board, this is something we have talked about previously, and I believe we had the hearing last time. If there's any additional questions, otherwise I'll open it up to public comment. Anybody that has any comments can raise your hand. Seeing none, coming back to the board for a motion, please.
I move that we approve the Pacific Grove Unified School District Adult Education Teachers Agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. And thank you to all the adult education teachers as well, with what you provide to our students community. Okay, moving on to item B, approval of the assistant and superintendent 20-22 contract and retroactive adjustment for 2019-20 school year. Again, this is something we have discussed as a board, and if there are any, first I'll ask Dr. Porras if you have anything else to add. If not, I'll go back to the board for comments.
No, Madam President, it's as listed on the cover sheet.
Thank you. And board, this is fairly routine, so unless you have questions, I'll open it up for the public.
Yeah, I would like to just comment on to the general public, Debbie.
Sure.
And just note that when you see this 2.21, and you'll see it, you saw it in the prior contract and this contract and in the next contract, this is an attempt to have exactly the same percentage increase to all the district employees as was negotiated. And it's a little bit of an imperfect world, and the board has gone back and forth quite a bit, but this appears to be the number that actually works out across everybody. So that's why it's an odd number, but it's also why it's consistent in these.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'm not seeing any public comment on this item, so we'll bring it back to the board for a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve the Assistant Superintendent's 2022 contract.
Seconded.
Okay. Motion made by John Peth, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. And Song, thank you for all that you've done so far with us and all your presentations, and you make them easy to understand. So we appreciate you. Okay, moving on to the action discussion C, approval of the superintendent's 2022 contract retroactive adjustment for the 2019 school year. This is basically, as John Peth mentioned, the same. Board, any comments, questions? John Walton?
Nothing from me.
Okay, I will go ahead. Brian?
Just a quick comment about this and going back to the assistant superintendent as well. I can't say enough about how much I respect both Ralph and Song, and I think that they are a real asset to the district and the community at large, and especially at a time like this, but even on a normal and mundane day, they are there. They seldom, if ever, have I seen them flinch at some of the things that we've had to deal with them or that have been presented to them, and they're always back with an answer. So it is an understatement to say that they're a tremendous asset to the district and to the community. That's all.
Thank you, Brian. John Path.
No comments, thank you.
Okay, Christy.
I just want to concur. We don't have to go too far from where we're sitting to note when you don't have the consistency that we're so fortunate to have at this time, it's a hardship. So I feel also that we're blessed to have two such incredible professionals.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to public comment. Seeing none right away, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I move we approve the superintendent's 2022 contract and retroactive adjustment for the 2019-20 school year.
And I will second that. So that is a motion by Christy Dawson, seconded by Debbie Crandall. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Path?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. As Christy mentioned, and Brian, I don't even know where to begin, but we are very lucky to have both of you, and appreciate all of you guys have done. And I think you do a lot more in the background that people don't know. So thank you, and we'll move on. Okay. We are at the agenda item of note. Academic and operations reopening plans. Now, before we open this up to our item, I'm gonna ask the PGTA representative, I believe that's gonna be Shannon McCarty, to go ahead and make the presentation from the PGTA Association. She's on.
May have to unmute her.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that Jonathan's going to share some slides. There we go. So I just wanted to share with you all that this week, we as PGTA, I took a survey of all of our members to try and make sure that we're all on the same page with where we're going. We're working on our MOU now with the district, trying to make sure that we're all safe and coming back. And so I put out a survey, and I wanted to share that with the public as well as with you all. So when we did the survey, we had 96 responses, which is what you see up on the screen. But we now have 102 responses as of today. The numbers haven't changed a ton, but I wanted to let you know that those were some of the areas that had changed. We have 102 responses. One of our questions, number 2, was, do you plan on getting a doctor's note requesting that you work from home? That's the question number 2. And I wanted to let the board know that we had 30.4% as of today. On this slide, it says 32.2%. So we have, as of today, we have 31 teachers that are requesting that they're going to get a doctor's note because they feel that they're someone in their family or they themselves have a comorbidity that makes it not safe for them to come back to work at this time. And so I wanted to share that with you. The next question was the number 3. It said, how comfortable are you returning to work? And we had a scale of 1 to 5. 1 was extremely comfortable all the way up to 5 being extremely uncomfortable. So you can see that on this slide, we have a little over, let's see, we have 41%, 26%, and 18%. And so when we add that together, what I have here today is the 102 responses. And so I have 89 teachers, or 89% of our teachers are feeling that it's either a little bit unsafe all the way up to extremely unsafe to come back to work at this point. And so we wanted to present that to the board, letting you know that we have 138 teachers that are members of our association. And so we have a big number that has responded to our survey. And I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that at this point, the teachers feel very unsafe at coming back to school in-person learning. We would really like to do distance learning until we can see that the numbers of our COVID cases are settling or plateauing. And so I just wanted to kind of share that point, that the teachers feel very unsafe at this point coming back to school, doing in-person learning just because of the way that COVID is going right now. I have a few comments that I wanted to share. One of our last questions was just a comment question, and I got like, I don't know, 57 or 59 people that responded, and I'm not going to read all of those. I sent them all to you, but I just wanted to let you know. I have a couple that I wanted to read. We have one that says, with the number of cases rising, public indoor spaces being closed again, repeated exposure to teachers and staff, and our buildings are not properly ventilated and aging. Therefore, I ask that we postpone opening up again. Another one said, we should plan on distance learning until it is safe to go back. During that time, we can make a plan to make sense of what is going on in our classrooms. Crucial decisions are being made by people who sit hidden in their offices, 6 feet away from others, and not being in the classroom full of students. It is a clear message that the health and safety of our teachers and staff do not matter. Another one said, we need to push for distance learning for the first quarter, and if numbers low in our community and other districts opening without cases, then let's phase it back in. Push the city to help with childcare and essential workers. It should be a partnership. Parents and a lot of high school kids that signed the full-time petition going around on Facebook really wanted high school to do more than 4 days a month, not actually go full-time. We are not guinea pigs, and see that the COVID transmissions look like in our schools to be increasing. The district's reasonable effort to keep us safe is not worth our lives or the lives of our families. If I have to go back, I plan on wearing an N95 mask, scrubs, and social distancing from my family at home. That way we can keep everyone safe. This is just unacceptable. So those are just 3 that I wanted to read to you. I know that there's a lot of letters and things that you got from other parents and teachers, but I wanted to, as the PGTA president, just to let you know that our position as teachers and even as classified staff, I think that we're all on the same page right now. It's just too dangerous for us to go back to school in person, face-to-face at this time. I feel like we're rushing to get things ready, and we don't really know where this virus is going yet. And I feel that for the safety of our kids and our teachers and other staff members, we really need to like put on the brakes and maybe start distance learning like so many other districts in our state are going. We're really hopeful that tomorrow the governor's going to give us some state guidelines for what we need to do with opening schools. But if he doesn't give us what we need, I'm hoping that you will listen to the teachers and to the parents in our community. It just isn't a safe time to reopen. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon, very much. And all the teachers that completed that survey and provided feedback. Okay, so we may have questions for you later on in the discussion. So thank you for the presentation.
Perfect.
I'll go ahead now and invite Leslie to join us and present the CSEA. Let's see, I still have Shannon in there. I have two Leslies. I'm not sure which one is which.
I'm here. I'm unmuted.
Oh, there you are. Yay. Okay. Go
Um,
ahead, Leslie. Thank you for being here and presenting to us tonight.
Thank you. I did just want to start off by saying that I also sent out a survey, and very interestingly, I have almost the exact same numbers that Shannon just presented. We also have roughly about 130 members, and we have had about 100 respondents as well. And the survey that I sent out had very similar type of questions. I didn't prepare that as a presentation for this evening, but I certainly have that available, as well as staff comments that I can share with the board. I did send a communication to the board earlier today, and I've just prepared a shorter statement of basically what was said in that letter to present in this public forum. I just wanted to thank everybody for hearing the concerns of all of the stakeholders in our PGUSD community. We're being faced with an unprecedented challenge and previously unthinkable decision-making in our professional and personal lives since the outbreak of COVID-19. Your classified staff have remained as dedicated to their work serving the students and community as ever, even though it has been from a distance. We greatly appreciate the hard work and ingenuity of all the vast amounts of planning that has already taken place, and we appreciate being part of that process. We're very well on the way to having a robust and effective hybrid model when it is safe to do so. But as the union representative for classified staff, it is my duty to represent the voice and concerns of our employees. I've collected feedback, which, like we said, is similar to what PGTA has collected from employees that I'm compelled to share with the governing board and the public at large. With a very substantial turnout of responses, with that same question of on a scale of 1 to 5 about comfortability about being on campus, 82.3% of our respondents reported being moderately to extremely uncomfortable returning to work on campuses and work sites. Some top concerns that were noted in our survey was increasing COVID cases in our community, returning to campus too early, safety for those who interface with students, safety for those who interface with other staff and or members of the public, and students mixing outside of school. We wisely closed down in March when we had so few cases in our county, and we should take into consideration that looking at a possible return to campus or work sites when cases are so clearly on the rise feels counterintuitive. The 93950 zip code has been added to the county health department COVID cases list, and unfortunately the Pacific Grove cases seem to be continuing to rise. We have no control of how students and our fellow staff members conduct themselves outside of the school or work day. So creating cohorts of students or staff members to reduce exposure and to assist contact tracing just gets thrown out the window once the school or work day ends. This is a large and unnecessary risk. And additionally, as Shannon was saying, you know, we've put so much planning into the big picture, and we've got a good roadmap to where we're going, but we still have so many unresolved fine detail issues and concerns that affect staff that have not yet to be addressed. A lot of our classified staff employees have multiple positions across multiple programs or even multiple school sites within their workday that would make a cohort separation next to impossible. We completely understand the enormity of the responsibility that our district is facing navigating this truly unprecedented situation. And classified employees look forward to being partners as we move forward through this difficult time to find solutions that maintain top quality education and services to our beloved community while continuing to do so in the safest way that we all can. The district as a whole, including classified employees, have swiftly and effectively risen to the challenge of having a sudden school closure, and we will continue to do so going forward. We made the correct choice in closing the school and work sites in March when we had so few cases. We now need to make the correct choice for the 2021 school year to address the unfortunate fact that our community and country is now in a far worse state with COVID-19 than we were in the spring. We need to protect our students and our staff members to the very best of our ability. Having stated all of that, we respectfully request that the school board consider adopting a full distance learning model to begin the school year, and that all employees be able to continue to keep all physical interaction to a minimum. The health and safety of both of our students and staff must be the top priority and guiding principle in this decision-making process, and we thank you for your continued support.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank you.
For that detail and being here tonight. Okay, so we're gonna come back to the item. I just wanna say before I pass it over to Dr. Porras, I just want to say that I think between the last meeting and now, things have changed daily, as everybody knows. And I don't, the last meeting, I'm just going to be blunt about it. We were getting pressure to open. Everybody should be at school and open, open, open. So we're trying to accommodate that. Plus, we have to be ready, right? We have to be ready depending on what the state government mandates. But I think we're here tonight to discuss where we're at today and the current situation, and make the best decision that we can for everybody's safety and concern. So with that said, I will turn it over to Dr. Porras to present the current information.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And also just preemptively, thank you, entire board, for approving both Assistant Superintendent Songchin Bendib's contract and mine. Deeply appreciated. Feel amazingly fortunate to be in this district now 14 years. So it's pretty amazing. So thank you all very much. Deeply appreciated. So tonight's presentation actually is going to be probably a little quicker than others, although I'm sure there'll be lots of conversation. I think President Crandall, you're completely right. The landscape keeps changing rapidly on us. Just yesterday, we heard from State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond, that he believes right now is the appropriate time to be moving to distance learning based on what they're seeing in the trends in California. The state superintendent it's notable, he has no authority at all, no legislative authority. He just simply can make recommendations and help guide decision-making. The governor is the one that has the authority, along with the public health department for the state. So we are, of course, looking forward to hearing what the governor has to say tomorrow, although we have a pretty good inkling of it based on the words from Tony Thurmond, since those two do talk quite a bit. So I will say that we are watching very, very carefully what's happening around us. We are having conversations with all of the county superintendents almost twice a day now, as we kind of try to monitor what's happening. So the situation definitely is not good. It's not improving. The cases, as we release those reports, continue to go up, especially throughout the state, but certainly here in the peninsula as well. We did note that. So we're kind of making our recommendation this evening based on that upward trend that we've seen. And so I want to share with you a couple of those thoughts. If it's okay, Madam President, I think what I'd like to focus on is presenting our recommendation this evening in regards to the starting of school. And then I would like to pass it over to the high school to review what they found for their hybrid schedule at their forum. Our curriculum department needs just a little bit to speak about a new requirement that's come out from the state. And then head over to Director Kelly for some operational plan issues. If that's okay, that's the direction we're going to be heading.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to make sure that everybody on the meeting knows that the high school is going to be presenting the current situation, but that is just if we are doing a hybrid. It's not that we are.
Correct.
Just want to make sure everybody knows that's the reason for the presentation.
Correct. Yeah, we want to follow up on the forum, and this is the appropriate place to do it. As you see on the screen, we are talking about this academic planning document has been around now for about a month. We've revised it as of today. And so I'm going to go ahead and just skip on a couple of spots here. This was our timeline that we revised a couple of meetings ago. As you can see, we are currently at July 16th, bringing you our board recommendation. So we feel like we've tried to keep up with the requirements. And so that brings us to tonight and our recommendation. There's 3 slides here that I'd like to go over for you. And I don't typically read things aloud, but I'm going to make sure that everyone can hear this in case they're just sharing on the phone. We know that several county offices and districts throughout California and the nation have noted key areas for review prior to returning students to campuses. These include the level of access to testing for staff and families with rapid response times, the reduction in positive cases, reduced community spread in local and county areas, and access to health professional guidance and clear direction from local and state agencies. I will say we have not achieved these 3 levels yet. We are finding there is definitely an increase in cases. The testing right now is dragging, and the response time is dragging. We aren't able to get those that information as we need to rapidly. And to this stage, we still have not seen a dedication in our county to public schools for testing. And so we can't rely on that just yet. We also wanted to reemphasize that there really isn't a set professional guidance program from the County Health Department for schools. There are guidance documents out there, and we are working with the County Health to try and determine a way to help prioritize schools as soon as possible so that in the event of students or staff with symptoms, we can get rapid responses. So as of right now, these key areas are very much lacking, which led us to the recommendation based on the review of Monterey County health information and cases, review of procedures within the County Health Department, and discussion with neighboring school districts. The administration recommends a tiered approach or a phased approach to the 2020-21 school year. Please note that all of these dates that we've listed are target dates, and things may change as the data comes available. The tier one, it shows here August 13th. That should read August 12th as we're looking at trying to find professional days that we can make available for our teachers. Our first tier would look to push the school year back to August 12th. And this would be full distance learning through August 12th through October 19th, which is the end of the currently scheduled fall break. We would have distance learning for all students initially, limited on-campus, in-person learning opportunities for identified students in small groups with physical distancing and all mitigation measures in place. This is to help address students with perhaps exceptional needs, special needs, or intervention plans that need to come onto campus. This would certainly not be for large groups, but would be for specific cases, and we would review those case by case. Implementing clear expectations from the state district regarding distance learning and accountability. Childcare provided for staff, children, TK through 8 at a reduced rate who are required to work from sites on campuses. And again, we'll develop that as we go. We're in the middle of working with both the city and the district staff to try to get this landed as quickly as we can. We realize that's an important aspect of having staff at work. And then gradually return to hybrid learning models as we have presented in this program, pending data that suggests a safe return and that measures can be met within the community. The second tier then would commence October 19 through January 5, 2021, which is the end of winter break. Again, these are target dates. Through this tier, we would have hybrid models implemented district-wide as presented in the reopen plans and certainly adjusted for current situations that might happen during the first tier. All recommended protocols will be in place, especially those that you note in the operational plans. We would maintain distance learning options for families that require it based on any new guidelines that are initiated by state or local agencies. Again, families have seen the survey that has gone out. We would continue to use that tool to help us determine this item. We would have limited on-campus learning opportunities as noted earlier. Again, childcare provided for our staff. Returning to full-time in-person learning model, we would go there as data and science suggests safety measures can be met in the community and or ordered to do so by the state. Again, pending data, information, and directives from the state or the county governments, it may be necessary to return to the first tier if things get substantially worse. Finally, the third tier proposed would be going from January 5th, 2021 through the end of the calendar year in June. This would, if again situation allows, return to full-time in-person learning based on data and science with all recommended protocols in place. Maintain distance learning options for families that require it, as we've mentioned previously. We would continue to monitor data and adjust the model accordingly to data and health professional guidance. And as before, if things change within the state, it may be necessary to return to either tier 2 or tier 1, depending what we get in regards to state protocols. So as you can tell, this is a phased model that we're recommending, and again, beginning with full distance learning. It would be a pushed back start of the date, a little later than August 6th. And this is to help accommodate the very much expressed need for staff to have some time to continue to develop the plans, to continue to develop their skills with distance learning. And all of those plans are being worked on as we speak with our administrators and their staff members. So that's the first piece that I wanted to cover, and that has in regards to our return plan. I don't know if you want to take questions a little at a time, Madam President, or I can move forward to the next parts.
Let's go ahead and move on if that's okay.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah. So the next one would be the high school schedule, and I'm going to ask Principal Garcia to jump in on this, to review that plan. And again, now, as you noted, Madam President, this is a summary of the forum. According to the recommended plan that we put in place, you would not see this model initiate at the beginning of the year if the plan that we propose is passed. This model will come into play in the second tier if we get there. But I think it's important for families to hear the results of the forum that we just did earlier this week. So Principal Garcia, if you're on the screen, we can go ahead and have you go.
All right, thank you very much. So we have held 2 town hall meetings since we last met. And the purpose of those town hall meetings was to share with our community what is now totaled 5 hybrid options. And to that, what you see in front of you now is the process and structures that we have followed to help develop each of these hybrid models. Next slide, please. Again, more information regarding the process. Next slide. So as a result of the surveys, and we will share that information in a couple of slides, we have come to the conclusion that we are bringing forward 2 hybrid options. The first being Gold Week only. During the Gold Week, students would be online, asynchronous work, as we are doing across our district, K-12, always on Mondays. Tuesday through Friday, students would be on campus based on their last name. And with the Gold Week model, students would be on campus 2 times a week. Next slide, please. The alternate schedule is what I feel a good summary, if you will, of all of the previous schedules. So looking at the alternate schedule, we have, again, students at home on Mondays, online doing asynchronous work, and then students on campus 4 days a week, morning group and an afternoon group, again, based on their alphabet. The biggest difference of the alternate schedule as compared to the other 4 is that this is a quarter system, meaning that students would complete a semester's worth of learning within 1 quarter. And the periods here, this is a sample schedule. If this model were accepted, we would look at our master schedule to determine what is the best structure for each day and each period, quarter 1 and quarter 2. Next slide, please. And this is just an example of what quarter 2 could look like. Again, following the same model, Monday asynchronous, 4 days a week, having students on campus divided by alpha with an AM group and a PM group. One thing I did not mention earlier is that there is approximately an hour break or so in between each group. Next slide. And there you go. There's your times that you can see. We would have the AM group from 8:45 to 11. And we would have time for teacher preparation and cleaning of classrooms from 11:15 to 12:15. And then we would have our PM group from 12:30 to 2:45. And that's Tuesday through Friday. Next slide, please. And so here are our results. I was very impressed, first off, by the number of people who we had attend the town hall meetings. We had well over 100 people attend each town hall meeting. And something of note as well is that we did hold voluntary staff meetings prior to the town hall meetings, and they were also well attended. And I appreciate all the staff who were able to be there. I know there were some who couldn't, they had other commitments, but I've greatly appreciated the staff input and their desire to put forward the best schedule possible for staff and students. So the results, based on a survey, a scale, excuse me, of 1 strongly agree to 5 strongly disagree, with the first survey, first survey, we had 465 people take the survey, that is staff, parent, guardians, and students, and 394 took the second survey. And you can see the breakdown in the bullets below that. And then looking at the average score per schedule, the staff, their first choice was the alternate schedule with an average score of 1.86. Their second choice was the Red Gold Week 1.0. And just a reminder, what that was is a 2-week schedule with the first week all online, and the second week students would be on campus 1 day a week. Their least favorite was the Gold Week only. For parents and guardians, their first choice was Gold Week only with 2.19 average score. And their second choice was the alternate schedule with an average score of 2.53, so very close. Students, their first choice was also Gold Week only with 2.29. And also similarly, their second choice was alternate schedule, 2.92. So those are the results of our 2 surveys. These surveys were sent out around the times that we had our town hall meetings. And I believe that is the last slide.
Mr. Garcia, the board may have some other questions, but I just want to make it clear to myself, at least, and everybody else. Are you recommending a plan, or are you leaving the decision to the board?
Well,
the board has to approve it.
Yeah, my recommendation would be the alternate schedule.
Okay.
It's the quarter.
The alternate, there's 2 alternates, right?
Well, it's
quarters, that's right.
It's based on quarters. So we wanted to give what the entire semester or block of time that students would have to take all of their classes. So we wanted to give everybody a preview of that.
Okay, thank you. We might have questions later, but thank you very much. Okay, so Dr. Porras, are we hearing from Mr. Kelly now? Is that right?
We're going to hear from Director Silva first.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go wrap it up with Director Kelly.
Okay.
And there we go.
All right, so welcome everyone. Director Silva here. I just wanted to share briefly that a Trader Bill's Senate Bill 98 came out and eliminated the LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan, for the 2021 school year. And instead of, we now have to create a learning continuity and attendance plan. And so this is just a brief overview of what that entails. It's meant to identify what type of instructional offerings that we're going to offer for the 2021 school year, whether it be a distance learning or a hybrid learning model. We have to identify how we're going to identify staff roles and responsibilities according to each of these models, how we are going to monitor pupil participation and their progress in their learning, how we're going to engage our students and reach out to those students that are not participating, that are not doing well, are not progressing as we would expect. How are we going to support our pupils with unique needs? And a very, very important component of the plan is the pupil learning loss. The state is very concerned about the loss of learning during the springtime. And so how are we going to identify for all of our students, especially for our English learners, our students with exceptional needs, our foster and our homeless youth? Another huge component of the plan, this would be another category, is mental health and social emotional well-being for our pupils and our staff. What types of resources and professional development are we going to offer to support our staff and our students? Another component would be school nutrition. How are we going to ensure that all of our students are receiving nutritious foods, especially if we are in a distance learning component. And if we were in a hybrid model, how are we attending to the needs of our students who are at school as well as those who are still receiving a distance learning model? A big component of the plan is stakeholder engagement and feedback. How are we going to enlist our staff, our teachers, our classified, our parents, our community in giving us feedback around the plan as to what they need in order for us to support them. And then this plan, once it is written, it will be presented to our parent advisory committee that was already identified for our LCAP purposes, as well as our English language learner parent groups. Then this plan will be presented at a public hearing to the board, and then the board approves the plan, and it is submitted to the County Office of Education, and all this happens by September 30th. So, you know, we have a lot of work to do. I want to assure everyone that we've been working on this, and this is, you know, this has been the framework by which we are engaging our planning for distance learning and for our hybrid models for the coming school year. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I will go to the board. The LCAP is quite intense, so I hope this one is not as intense, but probably just at a different level for different reasons. Board, do you have any immediate questions for Director Silva? John Walton?
No.
Okay, thank you. Brian Swanson?
No questions. No questions. Good luck. I know you've really mastered the LCAP over the years, and now congratulations, you get to do something new. Sure, you'll do great with it.
It'll take a team.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
John Path?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Christy?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director Silva. And we'll see if any questions come up later for presenting that to us. Now, I guess Director Kelly is going to present facilities maintenance current status.
Thank you.
Good evening, Matt Kelly, Director of Facilities and Transportation. So I just kind of want to do a quick overview, not necessarily in coordination with the slides, on a few things that have changed with the operations plan. The first being that we had put in for electromagnetic disinfectant sprayers. We ordered those back at probably the first week in June. We did get word a couple weeks ago that they were not going to be until the middle of September. The reason why this is critical is because we had anticipated we were going to use those for mass disinfection every night, and it was the way we were going to be able to disinfect every classroom every night. So not having that is kind of a little bit of a blow, which delaying the start would be a good thing until we get those. The second being is our HVAC system. And as we were going through, the operations plan has us ordering a MERV 13 filter. And the issue with it is that we can only order 1-inch thick MERV 13s because that's what our HVAC units will take. A MERV 13 and a 2-inch would be more ideal and would cause less of a pressure drop as the air moves through. So ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to have less air moving through the filtration system, less air being filtered, and also the high possibility of burning out fans and heat exchangers, which then could put a classroom down. So what that means as far as what we can filter as far as COVID, the MERV 13s, they were able to filter about 80% of the droplets that COVID lives in. With the MERV 8s, we're now only able to filter about 20% of the droplets that COVID lives in. But I did, like I said in my letter, it's filtration alone is not the only it's not the only thing that we're looking at. It's a combination of hand washing and social distancing and symptom checks and checking people as they come in. So filtration alone is not going to be the answer, but it is part of the plan. So those are kind of the two things that have changed since we last looked at the operations plan. The last thing I want to kind of hit on, though, is that we have had an opportunity to put the plan into place. We've had a few employees come down with symptoms, and so we were able to kind of look at it. And one of the things that I've noticed with the plan is that it does need to be reorganized a little bit. The wording is fine, but it needs to be reorganized as far as use, and so so we can, as staff and employees, can access that information fast. The other thing that we found, and it's not necessarily with the operations plan, but it is with a lot of the recommendation that CDC is making, is that if an employee or student becomes symptomatic, we obviously have the plan to put them into an isolation room and send them home. But the biggest hole is that we don't have the testing from the county to support the plan. So we're seeing right now that employees are having to wait somewhere in between 7 to 14 days to get tests, and that doesn't include results. That's just getting testing. So what do we do in that meantime? Do we shut down school? Do we it's kind of like this, what do we do? Because we don't have a positive test, we don't have a negative test, we don't know if we need to panic. So that's really the big hole in that plan, and we really need to have that testing in order for that operations plan to work. So that's about all I have for this evening, and I'll be available for any questions as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Boris, anything else do you want to add?
I think at this point, Madam President, we'll hand it back to the board. The only summary statement I would make is that, again, we've had these plans up on the website for a while. We've been talking about them in board meetings. I think that, as Director Kelly noted, we're constantly going back and reshuffling, revising, reworking a little bit as we go. But I think that what we're trying to do is make sure that any revision gets put up onto the website when we have it available. And so it's been, look out for those revision dates on there. And again, it will all depend on the plan for reopening that the board approves this evening. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, while we're having a discussion, instead of looking at us, can we have the presentation back on that slide, starting at the tier 1?
Sure. Give me a second to get there.
Please. Perfect. Okay. Okay, I am going to go right to the board and start with John Walton. If you have questions, comments that you'd like to ask. John, go ahead.
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, it's like you said, it's been an interesting few weeks since our last meeting, and things certainly change quickly. The presentation tonight, I appreciate all the information presented. Like I said earlier, the letters and all the feedback we've gotten from the teachers and parents have been very useful. From my take on it, from the feedback I've received, it seems like most of the parents are trending towards some type of hybrid type approach for us to approve, and most of the teachers and most of the school districts I've seen around the state are leaning more towards a distance learning. I can appreciate the staff viewpoint. There's a definite fear and concern, rightly so, about getting COVID or transmitting COVID. No one wants to be in that position. Likewise, I can appreciate from a lot of the parents' viewpoints. A lot of them have never stopped working or are having to go back to work now, and I think they feel like, if they can go back to work and do their jobs, then we should be able to as well. So I think there's that dichotomy of perspective, and we're all in this together and we're all taking risks together. I watched the Monterey Unified presentation the other night, and a lot of the comments were the same. I think the proposal that the administration has put forward in this hybrid, kind of modified hybrid model with distance learning initially is a reasonable one. I think it's cautious and it takes a phased approach to getting us back to schools. I think the devil's in the details, because I think there's a lot of details in there about what does that really mean if we go with this modified hybrid approach, because it's not 100% distance learning and the schools aren't closed, we're still teaching. And I think we'd have to rely on the administration to work with the teachers and the staff to figure out how we're going to do that. You know, the thing I would like to hear about more in future meetings is, you know, what are the triggers going to be? I know we're underneath the state and the county guidelines about restrictions and guidelines, but at some point, hopefully, you know, we'll start to ease back into more students on campus. And I think for the parents that really want to see that, I think even if we start with the distance learning initially, it'll ease their mind if we can start to be more clear in the future about what does that look like over time, when we start to, what are we going to use as the indicators to start bringing students back to campus when it feels more safe. You know, and I think, I forget which presenter brought it up. I feel very strongly that, you know, we focused a lot on curriculum, and rightly so, because that's the core of what we do as a school district. But I just want to make sure, you know, we don't turn a blind eye to all those other things that we do as a school district and provide critical services to our students, you know, the counseling and the mental health and the food service as well. I want to make sure whatever model we go with, that those don't get neglected. And then I guess just a few comments to the high school. One, as a parent of a high school student, to Principal Lito, I'm in favor of the gold schedule. So if you want my vote, that's my vote for the schedule on that. And to Director Kelly, is in a Tales from the Field kind of scenario. You know, my staff for the county haven't had a break, and they've been in the field working since this whole thing started, and they share a lot of the concerns our staff do. I just want to assure everyone that I think Director Kelly is definitely going the extra mile, looking at all these different precautions. You know, we don't do disinfecting every night. We wear masks. We wash our hands a lot. We social distance. We provide 24/7 service to some really high risk areas, I guess you would say, from clinics and hospitals and jails. And, you know, our measures aren't nearly to the extent that Director Kelly has discussed and proposed. So I think the staff will be well taken care of when they come back to campus.
Great. And with the plan of the tiers, the August 12th date, you feel okay about that?
I would prefer, I mean, I know the teachers would like a little extra time to prepare, and I appreciate that. The teachers I've talked to, you know, some of them are ready to go now and some of them want more time. I think this is where I'd like to really give the parents some sense of normalcy, to try to get back to school and back on a schedule, even if it's from a distance learning standpoint. I think, you know, I think we owe it to everyone to start locking down some dates in their mind. I think the longer we delay telling people when the start date is, it's just going to leave that uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds, you know, a lot of fear and anxiety. And I think we need to put that to rest.
Okay. So you're more in favor of the August 6th, I think, is the date.
I'm 6th or 12th. I'm fine with. I just, you know, I think
okay.
we need to start it. Well, the administration, I think Ralph was saying the 12th was in your recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, that's on the tier. Well, it says 13 for people that are looking now. It's just a miscalculation.
I understand.
Okay, thank you, John. We're going to come back again if you have any further comments. Okay, Brian Swanson, you have any comments, questions?
A couple of things. I'm glad that, as frustrating as it has been, I think, for everybody, this protracted process, I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to do that, because we are in a different place, as you'd stated, Debbie. We are in a different place now than we were a few weeks ago. And I listened in on the town hall last night with Carmel too, and I think they're in a similar position where it's like, all right, it's frustrating, but it's good that we know now more than we did before. I'm supportive of the delayed start into August 12, and I'm reticent to push it any further down the line, just because I do know that, and we could, but it's like, I don't know how far we do that. It seems like it's okay to me. It gives the people that need a little bit more time to prepare the time to do that. I did have a couple of questions, some that are a little bit more immediate than others, but Dr. Porras, I think you might be able to address this one. When we go back to, you were talking about tier 1 and tier 2, there were bullet points, number 2 and 3, in that presentation that talked about some on-campus instruction.
That's correct.
And could you expound on that just a little bit as to who those individuals would be who would actually be present?
Absolutely. We know that there are some students that are going to require additional intervention, just as we always do on our campuses, whether that's through special education or regular education. And we know that they're going to need some direct time with teachers or staff to make sure that they're getting what they need. And so we're prepared to have a place for those students at the school site on a very limited basis, perhaps 3 or 4 students at a time, if the most, to meet with those teachers to be able to get that additional intervention that they're required to have. So it would, this would certainly not be large groups of students, and it would be in a very well, the environment itself would be socially distanced and prepared and ready to go, and the teachers would be well aware of who those students would be. Again, we're just setting up the opportunity. We don't know for sure who those students are yet, but we wanted to make sure to provide the opportunity for it in the event of.
Okay, okay, great. And then this for Lito Garcia, I had a question about, and it may be more for, well, I'll throw it at you anyway. We talked about the first and the second half of the day, and this got brought up previously too, because we need to be able to offer lunch to some of our students, correct?
Correct.
And how were we going, was there any further thought given to how we're going to deal with that? I know for the earlier group, under the alternative schedule, that's sort of easy. You could do a grab and go, but has there been any further thought given to the incoming students who are there for the latter part of the day?
I would need to defer that to Principal Garcia or Assistant Principal Steinbeck.
And I don't know yet. It's also okay. That's also an acceptable answer. I'm just
wondering. No. I think we have talked about certainly food and meals, and as this plan just was kind of developed, we're still trying to working through some of that. So I don't know is the better answer at this moment, but I want to give the principals an opportunity to answer if they have one.
I support the I don't know.
Okay. All right.
We would have to work it out, but I know we could make it happen for the students who need to be fed.
Okay, and I mean, I could see it sort of thinking out loud, even where it's for those students that do need to be fed. I mean, maybe for those who have options available, that's just make sure you eat before you come. But for those who don't, you know, there could be an area available to them where they're socially distanced and they can pick up sort of a grab and go and have it on campus. So. And last, and this is more sort of a matter of curiosity, but I'm thinking that if I'm wondering this question, others might be as well. And I think it could help increase a comfort level for everybody that's wondering. This is more for Matt. And you'd mentioned the delay of these electrostatic disinfection guns. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what that is and how it works? So we're just, those of us that are wondering, just aren't Googling, and you know, it's like, they sound really great, Matt.
Is Matt Kelly still with us?
He's out cleaning.
All right, there you go.
His
There he is.
disinfection gun. He has one already.
I was waiting for Jonathan to unmute me.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically it's our disinfectant that we put into the gun, and as it comes out, the gun puts a static charge to the disinfectant, And what it does is instead of hitting the surface that's directly it's sprayed on, it kind of just surrounds itself because of that that electromagnetic, or because of that charge to it. So like if you're squirting or if you're spraying any surface, it'll kind of go around the entire surface. So and then you leave it there, and so you can disinfect a room in maybe a quarter to maybe less than half the time.
Okay.
That still doesn't take away cleaning, though. You still have to clean on top of the disinfecting, but the cleaning will be going on during the day, and then we'll be able to disinfect a lot better at night, which allows me to put more custodians during the day and having to ramp up at night to do more cleaning and more disinfecting. The machine's actually doing more of the labor than the custodian is then.
Great. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Trustee Swanson, if you were thinking the Ghostbusters kind of gun, I don't know if it looks like. A few people I think thought that's what it looks like. So
the 15-year-old kid in me was kind of hoping for a Ghostbusters type thing, but I was just curious as to how that worked, and it being something that I'd never even heard of before. So, and I know that I would imagine that one of our challenges as we move forward through all of this is just going to be properly cleaning everything. You know, when we're talking about under the alternate schedule, having an hour to clean, I don't know how many rooms before you bring in a whole new crop of students. That sounds like a big undertaking too. So I see those as being issues. I don't think that they're insurmountable issues, but I do see them as being challenges. So that's all I have.
No, you're correct. And I think in one of the seminars I was in just last week, they presented a technology that's not a new technology, but is a technology that a lot of clean rooms and hospitals use. And so we're going to start doing the research on that. And it'll really help being able to turn rooms over on an AM PM schedule. So that's another reason why it'd be good to have the extra time to kind of test the stuff out.
Terrific. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Brian, did you have a preference on the high school plan?
Well, I'd prefer the new alternate schedule over anything else. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. John Paff, to you next. Questions,
Thank you, Debbie.
comments? You're welcome. Go ahead.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I have quite a few. First, really thank you, Lito, Shane, the high school faculty who I know spent time trying to sort out yet another version. It's non-trivial, and you're trying to count minutes. And Debbie, at the outset, I will say I am a fan of alternate. The last schedule that was presented, it appears to me to provide the most possible minutes, given the constraint that the children are on, or sorry, I shouldn't even say children at that age. The students are on campus in the manner in which we want them to be. So there's no doubt, if you actually count minutes, it is clearly a better plan. Also to Buck and Billy and Song and Shannon and Leslie, appreciate your guys' work on the MOU and the presentations that you guys did bring forth and discuss. So thank you very much. One thing about that alternate schedule is it does say, and this is a small thing, but should be addressed eventually. And there's about 4 ways of doing it that I came up with, which means there's 64 ways total. But, A through L every morning is probably not optimal. Some variation of A through L and then M through Z, and then the next day is M through Z, A through L, or swap it by quarters, or however you wish. You could even do it every other week. So in terms of opening, I'm a fan of pushing it out even further. Flat out, if you ask me, are we voting for DL today? I think distance learning is the only possibility. It's going to be mandated by tomorrow at about 10 probably noonish. The governor's going to say it's done, and that's that. So arguing to immediately go back to school is it serves no purpose for me. So with that, and with that inevitability, I do not think that even though we say we are ready, we have not planned on this. We've had a lot of hybrids in flow, and we should be making and availing ourselves of as much time as possible. And I would push out at a minimum to August 17. the week later and figure out how to sneak those days out of a schedule somewhere later on and pay the teachers for that effort as well. And then we also, as John said, and he's absolutely right, he used the word triggers, which is better than what I had. But what are the triggers to come back? And one of the things that has to occur is when we bring them back, we're not saying, oh, well, it's Tuesday and we've met all the triggers, so we'll start tomorrow. We need to go to the end of the semester or the end of the quarter or whatever we define well in advance so that we're not flipping back and forth. But also primarily so that all of the planning that can be put into it for as long as possible and stretch it as long as possible with that plan actually works. Because the more that we change, the worse off we're going to be, just flat out. So John's right, those triggers are necessary, and we should set them up that way. I have a number of questions on actually getting started. One of them is, you know, in a full DL model, we need to be looking at how do we broadcast out of 120 plus classrooms? Do we have video and audio immediately available? Please don't say everybody's going to use an iPad camera. That is not a particularly great solution. We should be better than that. And we need to test. And by test, I mean we need to broadcast to 2,000 spots somewhere else. And software companies know how to do this. I kind of assume both Jonathan and Matt Binder and John Walton have actually done this in some manner. I have not, but it must be available that you say I need to do a test run. My target is 2,000. I need to test to 4,000. How do I do that? That has to be checked and proved and double checked. It is not sufficient to say the network is up and running because that is simply not actually a real check. You know, we got to be well on top of that. The other question that comes up in any sort of distance learning model is what other supplies are we missing that we're going to have to figure out how to get out to students at all levels, quite frankly. I have this feeling that there's other little odds and ends. At the elementaries, there's a word for it, but touchables comes to mind. How do we get sufficient stuff out? Part of the thing that has to happen there is actual tactile elements, at least in the K1-2 range. You know, at the high school, it might be calculators, whatever we need there. But those supplies, I think we have to do a second count on that, particularly for any online model. So that's kind of where I am. I think it's inevitable. I think we're going to distance learning. And thanks.
So John, just to make sure I'm clear on your stance there, the tier approach that's presented, you're in favor of that, but the dates need to be adjusted a little bit.
We should avail ourselves of every possible day we can for professional development into a distance learning model that we can sneak in. And if that pushes us to the 17th, great. If it pushes us to the 24th, I would not object. Once we've set distance learning, this is going to be a little easier to decide. But I think the 12th is too soon. I think we're not going to be able to run some of these very important checks and frankly get teachers in front of systems and actually make sure they can reach out to 24 students twice a day, which is absolutely a necessity to check and test. So
okay, so the extra time is for testing and just being ready. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Ralph.
I realized, and I apologize, that I was going to call on Mr. Mejia to talk a little bit about tech during the presentation, and this jogged my memory. So he may be able to answer a couple of those points just because we were going to talk about it and I forgot. So if you would, could you spare him a couple of minutes to speak to that issue?
Yeah, Christy, do you mind holding your comments?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted.
Okay. I also had a tech question as well, so go ahead. That would be great, Dr. Porras.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan, is this an okay time?
Yeah. So to speak to some of those points, network speeds for us right now, currently, we get 1 gig from our internet service provider, which is MCO. We have already spoken with them to up that up to 5 gigs. So on an average day, we're hitting about 500 megs. So going up to 5, and we always have the ability to go, the most our network can take is 10. So we can take it up to 10 to assure of speeds. Now, when we talk about network speeds and connecting 2,000 devices, there's so many different variables to factor in. It's not simply as simple as just saying our network and that's it, because although our network can handle it, the student networks that they're connecting, they're not connecting to our network to come to class. So if they experience any lag on their end, it may not be from the streaming on our end. It could be their own home network. Also, to speak to that, we also have to understand that, you know, NIC the devices are all different, and NIC cards are different, and their capabilities are all different. So on one access point in a classroom, I can receive anywhere from 400 megabytes on my phone, and on a Chromebook, between 200 and 300. That just has nothing. That has everything to do with the network interface controller and what it can be ready for. My suggestion is that we always use a hardwired connection from a classroom to stream. Those speeds are coming in currently at around 900 megs, which is more than enough to handle HD streaming across campus. Obviously, we are still stress testing the network. I'm going to have documentation on that within the coming weeks. And now our baseline is at around 400 for our wired network, again, dependent on the device, and 900 for a wired connection, which is pretty standard for any computer or laptop that has a Ethernet port. In terms of cameras for classrooms and audio equipment to be able to stream at a good quality, I agree. I don't believe that an iPad is going to be sufficient enough to do that. Already engaged some quotes. If we're talking about fitting 155 classrooms with a camera that's good enough, that's going to function, and audio microphone that's going to be able to transmit clearly as well, we're looking at about $900 per classroom, which puts us between $135,000 and $140,000 to fit 155 classrooms with this capability. I'm not saying I'll let the board decide if they want to fit every classroom with that and how they want to fund that, but that's the hard number there. I was able to negotiate with one of our vendors to bring that down to that level. Some of the other options are much higher than that. If we want to go that route, my recommendation is that if we are going to engage in that we do go with a device that is graded for this type of work, not a small little consumer grade webcam that's only going to produce more tech issues and frustrations in that regard.
Thank you. John Paff, did that answer some of your questions and concerns?
Well, it says that we have $135,000 minimum expenditure coming up, because if we're going to engage in distance learning, this isn't really a question of, do we? It's a matter of how fast can we get it, right? This is a requirement for it. And in the spring, we allowed people to use laptops and what we were personally using, but we do in fact need to say, look, we're committing to giving you the best possible experience, which means we're not going to use, I'm talking to you through an iPad. I'm pretty sure it distorts things right and left. I know it does. It's appropriate for Zoom, but it's not appropriate for actual teaching. As to the 1 gigabyte line, I appreciate that statement, but in fact, when Bruce put stuff in, and one of the things we realized right after we did the last very large configuration scheme was when we had 35 people try and come into 2 classrooms and 2 different routers, and they all logged in simultaneously, we broke things. And that is the stress, and Jonathan's right, it's a stress test, right? That is the testing we have to do. We have to find that failure point before we go live, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you, John and Jonathan. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep going on the board to Christy. Comments, questions?
Yeah, first of all, a huge thank you to everybody, as has been stated previously. This has really called on individuals to really step up. And this is the normal time that teachers and everybody connected with education get to breathe and relax, rejuvenate, and that's been rather hijacked at this point. Where I'm standing, so a big thank you for everybody, and a big thank you to everybody who's here tonight, because this is huge numbers, because people are so passionate about this. Where I stand is the tiered opening, August 12th. I'm concerned that if we push it back, we have to go get days from other places. And when October comes and that fall break is there, and we've taken a couple or 3 or 4 of those days in order for more prep time, teachers and staff will need that then, I think. So I would say August 12th, and we've got time to kind of get that together. In the spring, people were forced to pivot immediately and to jump into something totally unknown. We've been, there's this ramp up that's coming, that's inevitable, and I think people will be ready for it. For the high school, I like the alternate plan. I will echo John Paff that it seems somehow the A through L's, not in the red and gold weeks, it was alternated, but somehow in the alternate schedule, A through L's always get up early, and the other group. I just would encourage that to be changed. Then we're not really discussing it tonight, but with the middle school, I know they have their plan that's been up there, and I would ask them during this distance learning time to move towards live teaching, where credentialed teachers are in with those kids, and to figure out how to lay out their schedule for more teacher-student live contact. So that's not really on the board tonight, but it's critical. And finally, the teacher accountability. I know I've been, people have reached out to me regarding teachers that had office hours, or teachers that would meet with students once a week and then not really in the spring. And I think it was very difficult once grades were guaranteed legally that we're just going to stick with what we have. And I'm sure everybody everywhere wants kids back in class. If we can't do that right now, the most important thing as we move forward is the academic rigor. And I'm just very eager that teachers are meeting with students as often as possible. And there are lots of things put in place to make sure that students are participating fully, as well as everybody else, to get the best educational experience possible for our kids. And that's it for me, Ms. Crandall.
Thank you, Christy. Back to the middle school. So that actually is part of what we're doing tonight. So did you want to talk offline with the principals there and figure out what is missing? So because they will need to present that to us for approval. We're going to approve the plans tonight.
Well, I feel like the phrase live instruction is the big thing. If you know, Principal Roach can agree with that and moving his staff towards that versus just plopping kids in a room and kind of piping teachers in from other places, and move towards the live instruction, and that's amenable to Principal Roach, then I trust him to find a way to make that happen as we move forward.
Okay. And I'm sorry to put him or Jason Tavani on the spot, but Mr. Roach, if I think you're on, if you have any feedback for that. I don't know if he's on.
Well, you may need to be unmuted yet, and
okay.
I'll have to rely on Mr. Mejia to do that for me.
I might be able to do it as well.
So there's a lot.
He's got his. Yeah, he's got his hand. You should be able to unmute now, Sean.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we understand Trustee Dawson's request, and myself and Mr. Tavani have been working on a schedule currently. So we look forward to getting something together and presenting that to the board.
Okay. That was an easy answer. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page on that. So we will be approving the plan, tentative plan that you have with a revision coming soon. Okay, thank you. Okay, before I open up to the public, I had a couple questions that were already answered, but the other item that we hadn't really talked about yet is in the survey from the parents, there was about an average of 30% that did not have efficient internet and or devices. So I know we worked really hard and provided all of the hotspots and all of that to families at the beginning of the spring when we had to go into distance learning. So I'm assuming that the plan will be the same and that we would address that 30% gap. Is that a correct statement? Either Mr. Mejia or Mr. Binder? Again, I am asking them and I'm not unmuting them.
Perfect, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like Matthew Binder is unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks for asking that, Madam President. We are going to essentially take what it is that we did and succeeded on, I think, as all evidence showed, the first time out of the gate on all this, and essentially on those wins. We included another question to the parents in the previous survey that was sent in our latest survey that was sent out on Monday around internet connectivity at home as well as device needs. And now we have those data by school, by student, by grade level. And we will be deploying those devices again to any students in need at the school of attendance. And that will be done directly at the school site through with the help of the site techs.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Just wanted to address that,
of course,
publicly. Okay. And my preference for the high school is the alternate plan as well. And for the middle school, well, we already talked about the middle school. So I'm going to go ahead. Dr. Porras, if you could go ahead and I'd like to be able to see the public comment. So if we can stop sharing there. Thank you. Yeah. And then we can bring it back if we have a question about it.
Got it.
Okay, so thank you. I'm gonna open up public comment, and we normally have about a 20-minute time frame, but I am gonna allow 30 minutes if we need it for public comment. And if you are wanting public comment, if you haven't already, on the participants button at the middle bottom of your screen, click the participants and you should be able to raise your hand, and we'll take in order. So the first public comment is going to be from Heloisa, and I'll let you unmute yourself.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Eloisa Junqueira, and I have an 8th grader and a 2nd grader who has special medical needs, and I'm also a physician working with the health department through this pandemic, and I just want everybody to be very prepared for the fact that starting October, we have the first combo influenza coronavirus season. And I think we really need to be considering and be ready for not being able to resume full, contact on campus schooling in the middle of the winter, January 5th, or the approximate date, I forgot. But I think we need to prepare for that not happening and not be surprised, closer to the date.
Yes. And I think that is the tentative plan, that we will always have that as a backup, and we just need to have that plan to return to normalcy if possible. And that's what we hope for. But thank you so much for providing that additional input. Okay, next up is Todd Lyons.
Hey, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. A couple things. One, Lita Garcia, I really appreciate your presentation the other day. I am 100% in support of the alternate schedule. What I would recommend is, I think doing it by quarters actually matches up with the plan to kind of look at whether you can go from tier 1 to tier 2. I would actually encourage the middle school to adopt the same thing. So you scope down the things that you're focused on in a particular week and then do it by quarter. I think that's a model that will really work well. The other piece that I would encourage is, I do agree, giving a week for the teachers to be ready for that is critical. I teach in a distance environment, and I know that it takes twice as much to do distance learning as it does in-person classes. So I think that's also very useful for them. And I think also by doing the method that in the alternate schedule, that's one that can be sustained either in a distance method, or it can be sustained through in-person as if we are able to go back into the classroom eventually in a measured way. I think the suggestion to have 1 week where A through L goes in the morning, and then the next week, N through Z goes in the morning, that's fine. I would do it by separation of weeks, though, so that for 1 week, the kids have some degree of continuity and when they have to wake up and go to school. Finally, I would encourage you to not do a huge equipment purchase, blanket for everybody. I would encourage you to do a couple of test cases with teachers, confirm that the equipment that you are planning to buy actually meets the needs and is sufficient to the purpose. And then once you've identified that, then do a larger purchase, because otherwise you're either going to buy more capability than your teachers actually need or want, or you're going to waste resources. So again, thank you for the alternate schedule. I thought that was a great idea, starting on the 12th of August to give our teachers time to get spun up for the first period of classes. And I agree, we're probably not going to be at school consistently, certainly for, large portions of this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Johanna Biondi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm speaking as an employee and a parent, so there's kind of a strange dividing line, but probably more as a parent in certain terms, though I don't know. But anyway, I grew up overseas, and it was during an extremely tumultuous time. And one of the things I learned was, we're lucky here to have a voice at all without judgment. And, I know that we're all judged, and we all judge, and we have that privilege. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but we do. But I think that no matter what our theory is, we have to err on the side of caution and the well-being of everybody. So, you may not feel at risk, but there are those who do, and we can't judge them on that. And we all feel at risk in certain terms. It just may not be through COVID. So I think that if we look back at the spring when this all started, we have parents complaining that our distance learning wasn't good. It didn't work for them. Nobody knew we were going to this. They had 2 hours to prepare, the teachers. And, I was receiving calls from parents saying, if Carmel is already closed, why aren't we? So we were judging ourselves based on Carmel. What are they doing now? What are their answers? And are we going to judge ourselves based on that again? Because I don't think that's appropriate. I think we need to follow what's right for us. And I'm hoping that that's what we do. Our spring distance learning, our teachers have worked tirelessly this summer to try and make it something better and worthwhile. The parameters are different. And I think we have to give it a chance if that's what's necessary, because I don't think that with the fluctuation and the fluidity with this, we can decide one way or the other. And I think that our staff has worked tirelessly to be better at whatever they are given. And, you know, as far as teachers go and our on-site staff, we're coming to campus based on other people's outside choices and how it affects us. We don't have the choice of what they do, but we get all of that given to us. So, you know, it's not just one student that may have made a bad choice. It's one family, multiple students. You know, these teachers are putting themselves at risk when they're coming on campus. So families have to make a decision to keep their students and teachers and staff safe as well, and not throw that out the window. You know, we're sharing spaces and resources.
Joanna,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm going to keep moving, okay? We do have
That's
a 3
fine.
minute. Yeah, I appreciate very much, and I know the rest of the board appreciates your input, and we definitely agree that the teachers have been working tirelessly. So I just hope that this extra time could help. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next up is Jennifer Schmidt.
Hi, let me start by thanking the board for taking my letter. I got some replies and I appreciate that. I'd like to agree with board member Paff on extending the start date. I feel as Ms. Biondi did, that teachers were really thrown into the fire quickly. The more time we can give them to prepare, I think the more time they're going to have to give better lessons for students. Parents will be happier with the quality that they're getting from these teachers. So I think that's pretty important, to extend that time as long as possible. Another issue I have is with the schedule for the high school. I have an incoming junior, and looking at the schedules, the alternate schedule, the Q1, Q2, I'm finding that we're not in the short term. This is a long-term issue with COVID. We're not going to be over it in the spring. With the alternate schedule, you're setting up cohorts of students to have a greater number of potential exposures. There one day, change cohorts, the next day to another 12 students, and then the next day to another 12 students. You're looking at roughly 50 potential exposures per student with that schedule. If you use the Gold Week only, if we're going to insist on some type of combined, that's a better schedule of the two to reduce risk. So I feel pretty strongly about, if you're going to do a hybrid, the Gold schedule is the way to go, because as I said, we're in this for the long run. Lastly, I'd like to know, what are the parameters going to be for allowing families to opt into distance learning only? Are you going to require a physician note? Is it just going to be the family saying, you know, I know my family, the risk is too high, we're going to stay with distance learning? That needs to be out there. I think that needs to be very clear. And then lastly, what are we doing about registration? We can't do the standard where we stand in line shoulder to shoulder for an hour outside the high school hallways to get whatever we need. Those are things that are really hanging in the air for me. That was it.
Okay. Thank you. So a couple things. Just to be clear that the plan, the tier plan, is based on science and results and where we're at that time. So nothing is for sure. And we will see how that goes when that time comes, October-ish, if we are even going to come back. As you said, it's a long term. Dr. Porras, I know there were some results regarding registrations. Is that not all online?
Yeah, we do have a registration process online. I'm not sure, perhaps there's some other issues regarding the registration process at the high school, although I know that once we know what the schedule setup is, it helps us set up the infrastructure a little bit. But if there's some more clarity that we can get, and certainly, Ms. Schmidt, if you want to email some more of your thoughts in regards to what you mean, we can address those for you from the high school office. And then just in reference to one of our other points, the state had already established who qualifies for distance learning, and those were released already. I will say at this point, the state is not requiring a medical note or letter. So parents are making their decision, and we're listening to those decisions based on their best judgment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Boris. Okay, next up is Elliot Hazen.
Hi, thank you for unmuting me. I just wanted to start by echoing Todd's point that testing of equipment is essential before any large purchases. We have a $15,000 video conference equipment that works 50% of the time, so money in cost might not be the best choice to decide. And further, I hope that there's an opportunity for parents to stress test both the networks and the potential hardware platforms to identify
Mr. Hazen, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Is there a way you could talk closer to your mic or something? It's a little hard to hear you, and I don't want to not hear you.
Sure. Is this better?
A lot better. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So I was just saying, I hope there's an opportunity, for example, for parents, teachers to stress test both the networks and potential hardware, software platforms to identify issues before we are fully underway in the school year, rather than having people kind of thrown into the fire again, knowing what we're getting into. And my second point quickly is just that I want to mention the issue of equity again, is that whatever decision we choose will affect families in our community with different technological familiarity and resources quite differently as well. So I hope it's just part of consideration moving forward. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Corinne Gordon.
Hello. I think most of my concerns have been addressed in the meeting, but a couple of things I would like to comment on, reiterating the presentations by both of the union presidents. I think they expressed our teacher concerns very, very well, and made clear our concerns about coming back to in-person teaching, along with Matt Kelly's presentation. Besides the equipment or the facilities safety equipment, another concern that I have is the district's ability and willingness to pay for all of the PPE that will be required for when we go back to in-person learning, such as the masks, the gloves, the face shields, the partitions, along with the cleaning supplies and hand sanitizers and all of that. That's going to be a significant expense, and we need to make sure that we are able to supply all of those for our staff and our students. I'd like to thank Christy for pointing out that in the spring, not only did we have very little time in shifting to full distance learning, the state mandated that that fourth quarter would be hold harmless as far as grades go. And so that also affected the quality of the academics, because some of our students, I had quite a few actually who just decided to quit coming to class and quit doing work because they knew that they could hang on to their quarter 3 grade and that was okay with them. And so I lost a lot of students that way. And I know that with a little more experience by the end of the quarter, along with more preparation and being able to hold students accountable and take attendance and all of those things, that we will be able to provide a much more robust and rigorous academic curriculum. I would like to comment though on the alternate schedule. I know there's a lot of support for that. And I would just like to question though that the survey results are based on the schedule preferred for in-person learning. Now, I would like to see that survey repeated for distance learning, because I think that the alternate schedule is the most academically challenging. We are asking teachers to prepare and deliver a whole semester's worth of curriculum in 1 quarter to teenagers whose brains are still in development. And there's a concern about retaining what they learn from quarter to quarter if they have, say, math first quarter and not second quarter, and then again third quarter, along with science and English and history. I mean, that may work well for college students, but I just don't think that's the ideal circumstance for high school students, especially if we're trying to do it all distance learning. And I think the red and gold or the gold schedules are much more flexible as far as being able to shift between distance learning and in-person learning than the alternate schedule. So I would like us to take a closer look at that and maybe redo the survey. And then my
Okay.
final point is I would
Yeah,
like,
real quick, because I do need to keep
yeah,
going.
I know this social, emotional, and mental health piece is so important to parents. It's so important to all of us teachers, and we really miss our students too. But I think it's up to us as adults to model for them how to be resilient in this pandemic, because our students need to learn that life is fraught with difficulties, and it's how we approach the difficulties with kindness and patience and understanding and empathy. And that's the greatest thing that we can really model for our students, teach to our students. And I would hope that we as the adults in the community can continue to move forward. And I'd like to thank everyone for being here and working towards that end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is Jessica Grogan.
Hi, I'm an English teacher at the high school, and I have a comment and a question. I just want to clarify something. It's probably a question for Dr. Porras. So my comment is that I really commend the district for recognizing that teachers need childcare. So I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So that was my reality in spring, that I was distance learning with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Who, super cute, starring roles in all of my live teaching. Students loved it, but I was not the most efficient person, I will admit. So the fact that teachers need childcare is really important. So my clarification question about that is, since the district is going to try to offer childcare to teachers, is there going to be an expectation that teachers are teaching from their classrooms on site, or is there going to be the ability for teachers to do distance learning from their homes?
We are in the middle of discussing that with the MOU and the unions. So that discussion is actually timely, and I think it's part and parcel of the discussion. So I don't want to jump the gun on those discussions, but we're.
A little bit of echo there. Yeah, that's you. That's an echo. Okay. So thank you very much for the question and the comment. So you'll get your answer soon, hopefully, sooner than later. Thank you. Next up is Masha Sertunik. Pretty sure I said that wrong, but.
Hi, I'm Masha Sertunik. Nobody can say the name. Thank you. I have several questions, perhaps for clarification. So,
okay, I do want you to know, though, I will have to limit it to 3 minutes.
No problem. I speak fast. Okay,
yeah,
question number one.
You can email all the other questions. Go ahead.
Okay, I got it. Question number one. Say we push the beginning of the academic year a week or 2 or 3. Do you have enough buffer time to actually make up the instructional time? Because if we move it a week, it's already 5 instructional days.
Yes.
How are we going to make up instructional time?
We're gonna try to work the days out that are already non-instructional days.
Okay, thank you. That's question number one. Question number two, regarding the high school schedule. Say if you put the seniors into the quarters and they take AP courses, is College Board going to do AP tests quarterly now?
We don't, the College Board has yet to give us any indication on how they're going to test under COVID conditions. We're still awaiting their word, but we know it will be different than what we currently have seen.
Yeah, because like say if you finish a push in fall, take an exam in June, you will hardly retain anything by that time, right? And the same about college apps. Do we have a system set up with the distance learning with a college counselor to help the kids with their Common App, Naviance, whatever it is district uses?
We will still have all of our counselors in place and they'll still be doing their service. I'm speaking for the high school at this moment, but I'm pretty certain that we'll still have those services available for our students.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. See, I did it.
You made it. Thank you. Okay, next up is Carolyn Swanson.
Good evening, everyone. This is Carolyn Swanson. I'm a PG parent. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I was wondering if we can get an update from teachers or maybe the teachers union on the professional development that our teachers in our district were going to do in July. Specifically, I'd like to know how many teachers participated, what percentage of teachers participated, and if teachers feel like they need more professional development. Would you like all of my questions at once, Debbie?
Sure. Hopefully they can be answered in the 3 minutes.
I'm going.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have a special ed preschool on David Avenue, and we have a community high school also on David Avenue at our David Avenue campuses. I hear a lot about our 4 main sites, but I'd like to know if our special ed preschool up there on David and our community high school with our resilient high school students are going to follow the, like in line with maybe the preschool. Is it in line with elementaries? Is the community high school in line with our regular high school? I'd also like to know where can families direct questions after tonight? You know, everyone's going to sit with this information. They're going to have questions, and I really want people to alleviate their stress and confusion and know who to message. I would also like to know if we can maybe do a town hall. I know it's a lot of effort and staff time, so if we can't do a town hall, can we at least do a frequently asked questions document, maybe even gleaning the questions that are being asked tonight, because I think all of our questions are frequently asked, and then those can be translated, truly translated, not computerized translated, and given out to families. And my last question is, I just really want to confirm, when is the first day of school? Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll answer one of those. We have not decided on the first day of school yet, but we are going to shortly, hopefully, at this meeting. Dr. Porras, for staff training, can you address that?
I can address a few of them, yeah. In terms of our teacher surveys, we had a pretty robust return on all of those surveys. We can get the results specifically back, but we actually did quite a high turnaround of our teachers responding, and that's how we've been basing a lot of our decisions on. We can try to get those specific numbers for you later. The David Avenue campus and the preschools, some of those programs are already starting. They're in line with the reopening plans that we have posted on the web. The community high school program is posted there as well in the academic reopening plan document. Those programs will be aligned to the extent that we can with the district programs, but I know that the community high school program is pretty unique with a small group of students, so that may look just a little bit different in delivery of instruction than the main high school will. As for town halls and FAQs, we can certainly look to do a few more of those. We really were trying hard to wait till we saw what this decision would be before we take the next steps forward. But that's something we can work towards. And questions should be directed probably to the person who's most close to the answer. So if it's a program question at one of the school sites, it's best to direct that directly to the principals who can probably provide you the best answers, or get them to a person who can provide the best answers. If they're general program questions, you can certainly just send it to me, and I will get it to the right person. I will say that we're doing our best to get all of our responses back in a timely fashion, but we have been getting quite a few, and sometimes it's a day or two before we're able to get back to people.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. Okay, next up is Analia Light. Let's see if I didn't do that right. Are you unable to mute yourself?
Unmute.
There we go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Light, Elliot Light, and thanks for doing this. And again, I'm going to throw away my prepared remarks and to keep it really short. You've given me a great deal of relief tonight by what Trustee Poff called the inevitability of your decision. I will just say that I spent my day today on the phone with patients trying to get their test results after 8 to 10 days. I was on the phone today with patients terrified at a snotty nose with a little bit of fever. And I was on the phone today with other physicians throwing up their hands in desperation at what Dr. Youngiera was talking about in terms of multiple pathogens heading our way. I will just tell you This is the beginning of this epidemic in this community. So please hunker down, do your job. Let's get some. I have every amount of empathy for the folks that want to do blended learning, and my love goes out to them. But this goes beyond that. And what you're doing here tonight by making this decision is going to save lives and going to save a lot of desperation that's in the air. So I just want to thank the board for the process and the decision. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Next up, and we're going to go for 5 more minutes. Next up is Patty Bloomer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Patty Bloomer, and I'm a special ed teacher at Robert Down. And when I look at the tiered 1 form, and I look at the second bullet when we talk about the learning opportunities for identified students, I can't help to think that that is talking about my classroom. And so I guess I kind of feel when I look at this tier 1, tier 2, it doesn't really describe my situation or what I'm going to be expected to do. So I guess I'm a little worried of what that means and how many days or how many hours I will be expected to provide instruction to my students, because they will be a part of that identified group. And so I guess I feel like I'm being asked to go back to work, and I'm not going to be doing a hybrid or a distant model version of teaching, and that I could be asked to go and provide instruction to my students because I have a smaller classroom and the space that I have. And so I guess I'm just a little worried at the that because we know that the kids that I work with in special ed could benefit from on-hands learning, and that the distant learning was hard for them. I do feel I did a good job with the distant learning, and that I could make it even better if I did have to do the distant learning model. So I guess I just want to say that when I look at those tiered slides, I don't really feel like they apply to me, and it kind of worries me about what me and my staff are going to be asked to do going in on August 13th. So I guess I'd like to see something that responds to what that looks like for SPED and what we're really being asked, and what does tier 1 and tier look like for us.
Okay.
That's all I'd like to say.
Dr. Porras, would you refer her to Director Davies?
I think both Director Davies and the principals can help, but Patty, I can tell you that this is not just specifically to you or any one person. We're trying to create as many options as we can. There are a lot of regular education programs, i.e. 504s, and other accommodations that are made that are not part of the special education program. And there are students that aren't part of any support plan, but may be identified as need. This is not directed at any one particular group. However, I will say that our special education program is going to be following a lot of what our regular education program is doing. You are right, you did a fantastic job with distance learning. I think to the extent that we can continue that, that's what we want to do. I would encourage you to talk with your principal and to talk with Director Davies, because we're going to now, once this decision is made, we'll have a better idea of how we're going to work with staff and where staff feels the best program is going to fit. So these are the very first steps.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. Okay, I'm going to take two more comments. Next up is Jerry Pierman.
Hello, everyone. I am a parent of 2 high schoolers, and I want to reiterate the comments of Ms. Gordon, referenced the alternate plan at the high school. Last Monday, very good presentation on the alternate plan, a lot of merits to that plan. But that plan was grounded in the fact that the high schoolers would be going to school and interacting with their teachers. So a couple points on that. If you may have noticed on the alternate plan slide, the students are with the teacher for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's a good long time to be with that, just one teacher for that subject. And so along with the Tuesday discussion, we had 1 or 2 teachers come on from the high school saying, okay, this is how the plan is going to work. It's going to be a bullet train. You are going to get a lot of things repeatedly throughout that quarter in order to make up what would typically be a semester worth of work in one quarter. So that whole plan is really premised and based on the fact that the kids could interact with the teacher for that good long period of time. So I'm in agreement with Ms. Gordon that the survey results would be much different if we had had the information that we knew that we were going to go to distance learning. So that's new information to us today. So I think it's really important at this point that we might want to relook whether we use the alternate plan as the high school plan, or maybe move to that gold plan. But I think that's really important with this new information. Distance learning and the alternate plan seem like a clear mismatch to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last question, or last comment, but for those that were not able to speak, if you have anything that you would like the board to know, you can email the board, myself, whatever. I'll make sure everybody gets it, so you get your voice heard, because we do have to end eventually tonight. So one more question, and that is Steve Thomas.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Board of Trustees and also staff, thank you for taking my call. My name is Steve Thomas. I have twins that are in 7th grade at the middle school, and I was also part of Sean Roach's subcommittees, the task force to opening up. So I want to just send a shout out to Mr. Roach and everybody that participated in that, because I do think that it was a valuable exercise in putting a lot of great ideas on the table. I think any decision that has to be made regarding when school is going to open has to be done outside of simply our educational silo. You have to take into account what's going on in the city and what's going on in the community. For all of the great things in Pacific Grove, we as a city do not have a specific mask ordinance. And the city manager is on record saying in the press that the city does not have the capacity to enforce it and is not going to try. So that has to be taken into account when we're looking at when we're going to be reopening and how we're going to be reopening. Additionally, in the community, there are a lot of people who've been trying to social distance and keep their kids occupied. But as we all know, there are segments of the community that are not social distancing. They are not wearing masks. Kids are interacting in large groups, as was discussed earlier this evening. And there's a general lack of a comprehensive buy-in to these effective measures that have been put out there. And finally, from the district standpoint, you know, you've got a number of other school districts that have already taken the step to go to full distance learning, if not for the first quarter, for the entire first semester. We've heard tonight there's a ton of moving parts that have yet to be solved, whether it was Trustee Paff's information regarding the technology within the classrooms and being able to provide that, or if it was Director Kelly's information regarding the filters. We need to delay as much as possible to give the teachers as much room and as much of a lane to get prepared for distance learning, because it looks like we're going that way. But in addition to that, we also have to let the facilities and our technology department be able to get the hardware and also the systems put in place to be able to properly and effectively give the students and also the parents at home the ability for this not to just turn into an area where there's a lot of mistrust and anger going on. In the community right now, there are a lot of questions going on, not only from parents, but also from teachers. And there's a lot of angst out there that decisions may not be in the best interest of the community as a whole. And so I would urge the district to step up their communication with the community, not only from the educational standpoint, but from the civic responsibility on the city and also in the community as a whole. And so I would not only urge the expenditure of funds to get the technology into the classrooms that we need, but also to prepare for the eventual return in classrooms with PPE and those type of things. We have a technology bond. Luckily, we can go out and to the best of my knowledge, we have not expended all of that money. And so I would say go out and get the platforms that we need, get the safety systems in place through the facilities director that we need to expedite that and make it as done as quickly as possible. And I would just urge, take the step tonight, vote, don't wait for the superintendent or the governor, take a stand, go out, go full distance learning and implement this so that the community can have some sense of trust that there is a process moving forward. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for not only staff and the boards, but also the teachers' efforts in all this. And I think together we can come out on top, but we just have to take that step forward and rebuild that trust in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Again, anybody that wasn't able to speak, please email us any concerns or just opinions, voices that your voice that you want to be heard. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board, to each member, to see if there's any additional questions. And then I'd like us to go ahead and make this decision. So John Walton, any other questions?
No other questions.
Thank you. Brian?
No other questions. Thank you.
John Paff?
No, thank you to all of those who expressed their views on this, and appreciate your patience with us.
Okay, thank you. Christy?
Yeah, also a huge thank you for comments and feedback, and please realize that no matter which direction we go in, we just can't make everybody happy. So we just have to do the best job we can.
Yeah. Yes, and my comments are that I agree with some of the comments that were made tonight about this distance learning is possibly going to last through more than just the first couple months. So, but we have to have a plan in place, and this plan is going to be there when we're ready. But we are not going to put anybody at risk, teachers or parents or students rather. And we will have to talk about this before we make any next steps. So the plan is just to have a plan, and it's there in place if we want to use it. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion. Okay, board?
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it, Debbie. Go
So
for it.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the tiered plan as presented to start on August 12th. Unless the staff need more time, they can come back to us. We have a meeting on the 23rd. But for now, that I would approve August 12th start date, and the tiered schedule. Sorry, I had all this in my head. Now I'm losing it. And the middle school will be coming back with their next plan in the meantime. And as of now, the favorite of the board for the high school is alternate. That's my motion. Dr. Porras, does that cover everything?
There's a lot there. I will say that yes, that certainly gives us plenty of direction, and in terms of approval, that the most important part is the tiered part, so we can get rolling on that. And then the other parts are more direction in terms of putting into place. We do have a academic reopening plan and a operational plan that are both there. They don't necessarily need approval tonight. If the tiered plan opens up and it gets approved, I will just simply say that we're going to continue working off of those established plans as we continue to proceed forward, unless there's objection.
Great.
Thank you. So that's my motion.
I'm going to second Debbie Crandall's motion.
Good thing we have it recorded, right?
Mhm.
Okay, thank
I'd like
you.
I'd like to be clear here, Debbie.
Yes,
That
John.
opens us with distance learning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you've said the 12th, unless the teachers and admin agree on a later date, that's still a possibility at their choice.
Correct, to be approved at the 23rd meeting.
We do not as yet have any, and again, using John's words, triggers on how to come back, but Ralph has presented 3 items which minimally have to be met, but these will be expanded. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Just on that, John, that, I mean, that's part of the plan. I don't think we need to vote on that. It's just, we know that
No,
that's
no,
part of
just
the
it's
plan.
part of the plan. So
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the motion was made by Debbie Crandall, seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Paff,
aye.
Trustee Swanson,
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Passes 5-0. I can't say enough about the participation tonight, and we're not done yet, but I'm just kind of giving a summary of, before we go on. And all of the staff that have spoke tonight and participated in the surveys. Again, we don't have any plans of returning without another discussion and communication to the parents and the community. So for now, that was our plan. And if you hadn't heard, tomorrow at noon we are expecting the governor to be speaking. So he may or may not change all of this. So we'll see what happens. But if you're interested in that, tune into that and we will go from there based on that. And we'll just move on to the next item. Is that good? Okay, thank you all. Okay, our next and last, actually there's one more item. Our next item is board calendar future meetings. Dr. Porras, is there any change to the calendar?
No, at this point, we do have the 23rd as noted. Not sure what more is on that agenda at this point, except for continuing this discussion. The middle school, I just want to make a note that we will not have had a parent forum or discussion on anything the middle school changes prior to the board meeting. And that kind of goes a little contrary to the process we have followed thus far. So I'm not sure we would be able to have any kind of middle school forum on a proposed changed schedule before the 23rd.
My question, Dr. Porras, is I'm worried about staff. This is like the summer that never was for teachers. I mean, they're not getting a break, and now we're telling them come back next week. At the same time, we're saying start focusing on next year and get it together, because a lot of robust, rigorous learning needs to take place. I'm not clear what further discussion is needed on the 23rd. Am I missing something? Because I'd like to.
We're going to have.
Yeah.
We're going to have an announcement tomorrow that has to come back to us.
Yeah, well, the 23rd is a special meeting, just so, I mean, and we can cancel it if we don't need it. But for right now, based on what Dr. Porras just said, I definitely don't expect the middle school to have a plan by then. I think we have some time though for them to work on that before we even consider going into the blended model. Is that correct, Dr. Porras?
That's correct. I mean, I could suggest to you, certainly August 6th and August 13th are also open if we wanted to extend the meeting till then. The governor's announcement, I don't think there's anything that will be necessarily need to be reported unless it's something drastically different than what expected.
Well, it won't be.
He shocks us.
Yeah, I think
okay.
There's not much that the board will need to decide in that regards, but we'll be listening up to what he has to say for sure. But nevertheless, I just want to make certain that I'm not sure what more we would have on the 23rd for you. We can offer the 6th and 13th if those are alternate dates, but that's entirely up to the board. We'll be prepared to do whatever you'd like us to do.
So for right now, the only thing that I would expect that we would need the 23rd for is if the staff, the teachers, need more time and need to extend it past the 12th, because then we have to change the calendar, and that does definitely take a vote. So if that doesn't happen and the 12th is a date that was already approved, then we don't need to meet on the 23rd. And if things happen and we need to meet in the August, September dates, then we can go there. Sound good?
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's good for people to let down a little and kind of have a little bit of a break. This is so arduous, this process, both psychologically and emotionally. It's unrelenting. So I think a little bit of a respite would do everybody a lot of good.
I agree. Okay, so no action needs to be taken on the calendar then, correct?
Correct. Unless,
Okay.
again, unless you're adding, wanting to add any other meeting in August at this point. We have time.
We have time to do it.
Yeah, I think unless somebody on the board disagrees, I think we're good as is for now. Okay. Next and last item is future agenda items. And I don't know if I've heard any new things. We do have some pending items that don't have necessarily dates because of everything that's going on. So hopefully when we get back into a routine sometime in September, maybe, we will discuss putting these back on and give them dates. Any new other items, board? Walton, John Walton?
Nothing from me.
Brian?
No, but thank you for asking.
John Pass?
All good.
Okay, and Christy?
No, thank you.
Okay, is there any public that I'm gonna lower everybody's hand at the minute, sorry. Okay, is there anybody that has a future agenda item that you would like to ask the board? Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll allow a few seconds for that. Okay, I'm seeing none right away. You can always email us that there's no additional change to the future agenda items. And so I believe we are able to adjourn. Again, I mean, we're doing the best we can, and the teachers are doing the best they can plus. And we're gonna just go day by day and support each other. And hopefully we don't have a big surprise from the governor tomorrow. Okay, with that said, thank you again, everybody, for participating, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you, Debbie. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Adios, everybody.
Adios.
Bye.